Gang.
Oh, she used the full name.
That's when I go into...
Let's go, guys.
Okay, we're rolling. So whenever you're ready.
We're rolling?
Yep. 2.
Hey everybody, welcome back to my podcast, the Relebogile Mabotja Podcast. Subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can be the first to find out about brand new episodes. Don't forget to follow us on the socials at Relebogile Pod. That is where we are on all of the socials. And on top of that, you can comment down below and let us know who else you want to see me interview on the show. Let us get straight into it. Everybody knows her as Lebo Lion. She's in the building. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I am fantastic, and I need to know. Initially, I was like, what is the surname? And then I discovered what the name is. You've got explaining to do. What is your real name and your real surname, and why are you Lebo Lion?
You would have to pay me millions for me to reveal my real name.
Which I know.
And that's intentional, right?
Yes.
I positioned myself as a brand builder and a marketer. Yes. And I had to show the world that I know how to do it using myself.
Yes.
Like, that was like the biggest assignment I had. I said, I have to show people that I actually know what I'm talking about, right? You can work with different brands and corporates and you've got these big budgets and you can't really display your skills with big budgets.
Yes.
It's very easy to cover things up.
Yes.
So I said, I need to just show I have got the audacity. Let me show people that I know how to build brands. So I built my brand, Lebo Lion. And the way that I came up with that name, it's really uninspiring, but I'm going to be honest on your podcast.
Yes.
I've always given the PR answer, right?
Yes.
And funnily enough, it ends up tying into my brand story. Funnily enough, that PR answer, it's PR'd, but it actually is authentic to how I show up.
Yes.
But the truth is, the way I created the name Lebo Lion is that I looked for something that rhymed with the name Lebo. So I was just looking for words that rhyme with the name Lebo, and I thought like lion fitted perfectly.
So it sort of had a ring.
It had a ring to it. I was like,
yes.
a brand has to have a ring. Beyonce, you know, when you think of people's names that stick, they have a ring to them. So Lebo Lion has a ring to it.
So here's my question.
Yeah.
Because initially I thought you are a Lebo, like people call me Lebo.
Yes.
Did it become Lebo without me saying what the full name is?
Yes.
Right? Because people were not pronouncing your name correctly.
No, so...
Are you an actual Lebo?
I'm actually a Lebo.
Oh, because we looked at your government name and I was like, is it because of pronunciation?
No, so I come from a very multicultural family.
Yes.
My dad is Venda, but our roots are Congolese. And then my mom is Pedi and Zonga. Yeah, so like there's a lot of us and there are many cultures. And so some of the parts of our family didn't pronounce Libwani properly, but it wasn't a problem. They were just like, let's call you with your name, but in different languages.
Oh my God.
So Asante is also Lebo. So some people in my family call me Asante. Some of them call me Lebogang. It just depends on like what language you speak, because there's so many languages in my family.
Because I feel like Libwani is just such a beautiful. I wasn't going to say it. No, you said it first. She said it first.
Did I say it first?
Yes, you did.
Please comment underneath and tell us if I said it first.
Who said it first? Okay, and I love that you have used yourself, which is why I think you are so credible at all of the work that you do that I've followed for a long time. And I was just so excited when the team and I were talking about having you on the podcast. Even just your commentary on the pop culture stuff. Yeah. You are so respectful in how you do it. Like, you call people out even respectfully. You praise people respectfully. What did you have within you or within your family that made you keep that certain level of nda in how you carry yourself? That nda.
So I'm very proud to be a Venda woman. And I think there's so much in our culture that we all share as Venda people that when you, anywhere in the world you go, that's a Venda person, right? So one of the core pillars of being a Venda person is respect and intellect. We value education, we value communication. You must show up and be excellent in whatever you say you're about. So growing up, I grew up in an entrepreneurial family. And they'd let us, my aunt, my dad, whoever, they'd be like, if you're going to work in our business, you choose what you want to do. We're not going to tell you what, you can decide where you want to work, doesn't matter, but you need to work. And I'd always find myself doing the sales or the marketing stuff, all of that kind of stuff. And I realized, okay, this is my talent. But what's missing here is my ability to communicate with people. So through the years and engaging with people, etc., I honed my skill of communicating with others.
Yes.
And just knowing how to speak to someone to get them to do what I'd like them to do, to close the sale, to do whatever. I know that sounds really manipulative, but you use communication as a tool to get things done. So I learned that over the years. And also I'm a Virgo as well. So
Fellow Virgo here.
Are you also a Virgo?
When's your birthday?
10th of September.
5 September.
Oh my God, there you go. So perfectionist.
A-type
Exactly.
personality.
A-type, perfectionist. I believe that all ideas are valid if they're communicated well.
Yes.
And if you're disrespecting people, they're not going to hear you. So you have to find a way to communicate something in a way that is clear enough for the average person to understand. And if they decide to take another meaning from that, that's on them.
Yes.
But if a reasonable person has to listen to what you're saying and they can go, okay, I hear you. I can hear that you thought about it, that there's an argument that you're putting forth,
Yes.
that you're dissecting it, you have a POV, then it should be okay. But yeah, it's literally over the years I learned how to communicate, because I used to be a shy kid. I couldn't speak.
Really?
Yeah, I literally used to have so much anxiety that I was a mute child. They even took me to speech therapy because they thought that I couldn't speak at all. Like they thought something was wrong with me.
Yes.
And over the years in junior school, I would cry. You know how they make you do speeches?
Yes.
In English class, I would cry. I would cry every time it
About
was
my
my turn.
unprepared speech.
Yes,
Prepared speech.
Those prepared speeches. I used to cry every time. I would shake, I would cry. I didn't know what to do with myself. To the point where my parents had to say to my teachers, please let her say her speeches during break time when her peers aren't in the class. Yeah. And then in grade 6, English class, it's time for me to say my speech again. I'm shaking, I'm crying. Obviously, the girls of my class are going to laugh because they're used to me being that way. And I remember standing there thinking, this will never be me again. Like, this is not me. People laughing at me when I'm on stage. This is not me. So during the school holidays before grade 7, because I went to one of those schools that ended grade 7.
Yes.
I was like, okay, I'm going to practice a speech. I'm going to say it in front of my teddy bears. And I literally lined up all my teddy bears and I practiced a speech in front of the teddy bears. And when it was grade 7, English class, first term, I got up.
Wait, grade 8?
Grade 7.
Oh, grade 7.
Yeah, grade 6 is when I said, I'm done. Yeah, grade 7, got up, still nervous, but I'm like, I'm going to do this. Imagined everyone as teddy bears. I delivered that speech and I was the top 2 in the class. I think I got like 95% for the speech or something ridiculous. And from then on, I just started doing competitive speaking. Like, I don't know how it all flipped, but that's what happened. And then I became a speaker. So I've been honing that skill for many, many years.
And I'm so glad you are sharing that, because there are so many people who struggle with speaking. And I'm not talking even about in a professional, like as a career, but just even to just get through a job interview, even to just have to operate in day-to-day, whether it's because they are introverts or whatever it is. So the fact that you're sharing, you know what it's like to be on the other side, and now you get paid to do it. Like, I absolutely love it. And she even gives master classes on so many things.
Yeah.
I want to pick your brain. If you could take 3 media personalities, right? And flip their brands around, as in 3 new clients who are media personalities, South African.
Sure.
And this is in no way an indication that they're not doing well or that they are doing well, but just as in you think you could flip it and turn it on its head in a positive way. Which would those 3 brands?
So do they already have a positive image, or doesn't matter?
It does not matter.
Taking them
somebody that you are like, if somebody brought this person to me, I could exponentially boost where they already are, or I think people are sleeping on this person, or I think this person should start turning around where they are, whichever.
First person would be Semenya.
Oh.
I love her. She is incredible, and she's got one of those potent personalities that just stick. When you see her on video, you want to watch her. She's engaging, she's different, and I don't think her team has made her enough of a brand. They're relying too much on the fact that she's an award-winning athlete, which is great, but there's more to her than that. And you even see how the community engages with her. People love her. So I would do more with the Caster Semenya brand. I would have merch. I would do some kind of live interactions. I can't think of what they would be right now, but she needs to have more fan engagement than she currently has. And I would also do some kind of video series with Caster, because the things she says are unhinged. They're hilarious. I just love her personality.
There are parts of her that people, as in, have not seen that you would like to.
Or that they've seen but not enough of.
Right?
That's a very she's got personality. And when you look at her as an athlete, she seems so rigid. There's all this controversy around how they've mistreated her. So it's easy just to see her as either like a victim or an athlete, but she's so much more than that. So definitely Caster. And then a couple of days ago, I was talking about Scott's Mapuma's brand. Because that's pretty viral right now. Just generally, South African musicians, I believe, have a God complex.
Really?
So when they become famous very quickly, they don't have the training that's required to manage their fans. And I always say to people, guys, fan engagement is business. You're a professional. As a musician, your profession is music, and your fans are stakeholders in your brand and your business. So you can't treat them according to how you feel. You can't say, I don't want to speak to my fans or take photos with them because today I feel tired. You can't do that. It's part of the job. So I think Scott's is a great representation of how most artists behave generally towards their careers, where they make it too personal. And so some of their behaviors are like, but this is unprofessional. You know, we understand as a person you're tired, but all of us are, and we still have to do what we have to do. So if you're going to want to learn how to manage your fans and manage your engagement, you have to do it professionally, not in this reckless way that you have. So with him, I would just make his brand come across more mature, right? Because when fans love you the way they love Scott's, they trust in you with everything, right? That's why they'll come to your concerts, they'll buy whatever you ask them, they believe in you. So you're a leader, and I think you need to take that seriously. So I would teach him leadership and kind of create a brand for him that's more, I wouldn't say stable, the word is rooted, more rooted.
Can I ask a question as a pause to, you owe me a third name, but with what you're saying, I mean, I started out in the industry as a teenager, and I remember my very first publicist, Debbie D'Souza, who sat me down before I did my first interview. I think it was on Morning Live with Leanne Manas. And she said to me, why are we at this interview? And I said, to talk about the show. She said, are you going to remember that? I said, yes. She says, okay. So what's going to happen if they ask you about like your dating life? I said, I'll tell them I'm not dating, like I'm still in school. She's like, no. You're going to direct it back to the show. So if they ask you about who you're dating, you must be like, actually, funny you mentioned dating. There's this couple in the show, and bring it back to your character. And she said to me, if you want people to talk about your work, that's all you must talk about. If you want people to talk about who you're dating and all the other stuff, that's what people will talk about. I was a teenager, and I got groomed into preparing for, you know, the life and career that I have now. Obviously, back then, I didn't get it, but I carried what she said with me. As when you walk into an interview, what are you there to talk about? And always keep yourself in control. I think what I've gotten better at is curated vulnerability, which is how I call it, is you must give bits of yourself when you're on radio, when you do the type of talk show work that I do. So my question around that is, do you think that there is a lack of grooming for all type of media well-known personalities? I mean, I've seen it in sports personalities where they have not been trained, and I don't know. You get what I'm asking. Do you think there's a certain grooming that's missing? And mind you, the publicist I had is those old school, pre-internet, had the black book, had those personal relationships, would sit you down before an interview and brief you and remind you. Like, I feel like that doesn't happen anymore, and people's teams don't have that. Yeah. What do you think?
You're right. There is a lack of an education around the business of entertainment, especially with the talent. And I think that's because technology has made entertainment as an industry really volatile and fast moving. So you become famous really quickly and you become irrelevant very quickly. So there's a very small window to catch that fame and do whatever you do with it. And so people say, if I have to choose, I'd rather just be in the limelight, do what I have to do, but versus investing the time that I need to learn and grow slowly, or whatever is requires for me to capitalize on my relevance for a long period of time.
There was another thing, sorry, that you were speaking that I thought about as well. Back then, you didn't know you were famous until you were in front of people.
Yes.
So I also think the training around engaging with fans, for me, it started in the theater, where we knew as soon as you're done, you go backstage and you change because people were waiting for autographs to sign in the theater book.
Yes.
And that was part of the job,
Yeah.
is you are a lead, so fans wait backstage. There was no phone you could look at that tells you you have X amount of followers.
Yes.
So how do you think that's made a difference also with what you are saying?
Technology's completely flipped it, right? The rate of exposure is different. The depth and frequency of exposure is different. So using your example about being in the theater, you would go out and sign things from your fans. They were happy to meet you. But now you're exposed to people who hate you and people who love you. And that does a lot to your psyche.
And
so
they don't have faces.
And they don't have faces. And they don't
have names.
And they don't have names. But that makes a lot of talent quite defensive.
I got you.
And they start to have a victim mentality about their profession. So I just came here to make music, but now people are hating me and telling me what to do. Back in the day, you never knew what people were really saying about you, honestly, unless you read like a gossip blog or something, but it wasn't in your face and it wasn't every day and it wasn't so frequent. So now that the psychology of it has changed because technology has added that, you have to show up differently. But also what technology's done is it's allowed a lot more people to be famous. Before, there were higher barriers to entry.
Yes.
You had to study. You had to have a real solid grasp of your craft. Nowadays, you don't really need to. If you do something popular and it goes viral, you can become famous. Right? People are famous because they're topless dancing on a roof. 20 years ago, that would not be possible. Because what is the skill? Do you get what I'm saying? I'm not hating on anyone, but I'm just saying traditionally, through traditional structures, that would not be regarded as a skill.
No, it's the same as the Kardashians, where that line came up saying, you're famous for being famous, you don't have a talent.
Exactly.
They are marketing geniuses.
They're marketing geniuses. That's their talent, exactly.
Yes.
And a lot of people who are good at marketing are becoming famous.
I got
people
you.
who are good at virality or just being seen are becoming famous. And they don't necessarily have the longevity, the skill, or sometimes even the intellect, my apologies if that sounds offensive, to ride this wave the right way. And they don't have the education or the support to understand what it really means to be an entertainer, that it is a profession. It's not a fun thing to do to boost your ego or whatever. It's a job, right? It's a job. It's not you, it's a job. It's Lebo Lion, not who I am privately.
Yes.
Right? Because I show up differently.
Yes.
Not because I'm disingenuous or inauthentic, but because this is my bread. Like, the brand is the money, so I have to show up differently for it. I can't be tired. Sometimes I'll stop at the pantry on my way home from a long day.
Yeah.
And I just want to get some water and some food and go home. And like 10 people will come. Oh my God, hi, Lebo. Even if I'm grumpy, I put on a smile, find some energy somewhere, and I say hi to every single person. And we'll take a photo and we'll do everything they need. And then I go home and I woosah at home, right?
I am so glad that I was in an era where we could misbehave in public without phones, with cameras, because the stories we could tell. Okay, third name of brand that you would love to, for whatever reason, take on as a client.
There's so many people, but Minnie Dlamini.
Really?
I love her brand. And I think it's been misunderstood. there's an intersection between like our brands and our personal lives, and sometimes you don't have control as the person
Yes.
in how they collide.
Yes.
And unfortunately for her, her personal life has collided with her brand.
Yes.
It hasn't merged with her brand. And I think there's a lot of crisis PR we could do there, just correcting a few things that have gone wrong. But I think generally people actually love her. I think she is a South African darling, and we just need to reshape that narrative and create a few things in her toolkit, her brand toolkit, that will allow her to have a more credible career that's longer lasting. But I like her brand. I like her.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think you've given some interesting and powerful names. What are your views on public figures and them being open about their personal lives? So I've seen for myself the most Googled thing is like, who's her baby dad? Who's her husband? Who's the man in her life? And I have been, and you know now why. I was a teenager where I was told X, Y, and Z, and I think I share just enough, but also keep enough private. What is your view, considering now people can monetize their relationships?
Yes.
Sometimes people's brands are better when they are together, but also if they are not. And this is not unique to us locally. It's an international thing of putting your business out there.
So before I was known as Lebo Lion, what I used to do was run a...
You were known as somebody's girlfriend?
No.
I was like, did I miss something?
No, not at all, not at
Did you
all.
see my excitement? You were known as Mang's girlfriend.
I used to run a tech company with my brother and my cousin.
Yes.
So I was in tech. Young black people, we're in tech, and I love tech. I'm going to go back to tech when I'm done here. And one of the things I talk about often with regards to marketing and brand building is how tech has changed everything,
yes.
right? Before we had control, we could manage the media. Traditional media is easy to manage. The gatekeepers are there, the people in charge. So many things have to happen for a piece of content to come out on
yes.
radio or on TV. Online, it's just a phone, click of the button, and Bob's your uncle, right? So what that has done is it's also created this false perception of transparency, but also from a fan perspective, access to my favorite person's life. And people demand it, right? For you to have a brand that will ride the wave of technology and sustain itself in this tech-driven era, you have to have some sense of transparency, and they like to call it authenticity,
yes.
where people feel like you are letting them into your life. You're not just a celebrity on TV. They want you to break that third wall, right? And a lot of people struggle with that. So in the tech world, where people really feel like just by being on their phones, they're in your bedroom, they're in your house, you do have to, I believe, give them a bit of access to you in that way, but you get to decide how you give them access. And I think that's where a lot of media personalities and entertainers might find it challenging to do. You need to decide, what kind of transparency do I want to have? How authentic do I want to be? Which parts of my life do I want to give people access to? And if you really focus and create the right kind of content on that, you're not going to ask questions about the other things. And if they do, it will be one or two people. But you'll see that in your community of evangelists, they'll even tell people to keep quiet on your behalf. They'll say, no, Lebo doesn't talk about her relationships.
Yes.
She talks about this, leave her alone. We're only going to focus on this.
Yes.
So you have to give some people at least a bit of your life or a bit of your personality. And sometimes people will say, so what do I do? Do I show them my home, my family? I'm like, no, it's just unmanicured parts of yourself. So for me, I will do an IG live with a dugu in my bed, right? Which is completely unlike my pictures and all the other things that I do. Even my TikTok, for me, that's me being vulnerable and unscripted.
I got you.
I don't have, a beautiful camera, microphone. It has to look homemade. That's my TikTok strategy, homemade. So you feel like, oh, I can relate to her. She's just sitting on her couch in her house. That time I've got offices wherever. I do this and that, but that's not what I'm trying to do online. So I'm saying, I'm breaking the third wall. You get to see me as a person. We'll still do marketing, but I'm your girl. You get what I'm saying? So you can decide how authentic you want to be, or which part you want to let people into, but it doesn't have to be your actual personal life. It's just softer parts of you, more human parts of you. And if you do that well, people aren't going to be that concerned about who you're dating, you know, who your mother is. They'll ask, but they won't care that you're not sharing.
They're not invested.
Yes.
And okay.
But I will say the monetization part also makes personalities desperate to show their lives. Because you make a lot of money from showing your life.
Yeah.
Brands know that they make 10 times more if you're showing your life versus if you're just doing what you do. If you're instead of just doing your skill, you're actually showing your life. They know you make more money from
Yes.
that. Family content makes more money than professional content.
Yes.
Relationship content has a high ROI. So most brands will invest in that. That's why you see the people who show their lives make more money.
I have to say, a brand that I think is absolutely killing it. And I love I don't know where she gets the time. DJ Zinhle.
Yes.
I've told you so many times, Zinhle. Like, she is consistent.
Yes.
And she includes us. And I saw a video once which that she was talking about where she said, guys, you know, when you comment, it will end in tears about my marriage or whatever. And she said something. She said, it's fine, but while I'm here, I'm going to be in love and I'm going to show you I'm in love. What do you think she has done differently that has made her brand like that woman is on the money?
Yeah.
What do you think she's done differently? Because even though she's been public about previous relationship and she's been dragged into 1,000,001 conversations about 1,000,001 things, she had an interview with myself where we were talking about unemployed youth, and I remember remember that, which I think was taken a little bit out of context because people saw a clip, but that's the era we live in. Do go check out the whole conversation when I had her on my show on radio. But what do you think she's doing differently that has made her get it right? And I mean, she's been consistent in remaining relevant. She can continue adding more things to her brand portfolio.
I don't know if a lot of people remember what DJ Zinhle was like when she started. Remember, she was a tomboy.
Yes.
She was on YFM with Oskido.
Yes.
And she was just kind of like, okay, we might have even thought she was queer. You know,
Yes.
she gave that vibe. And then boom, she changed. She's a vixen. Now she's DJing. She's doing all of these things. And I think that shift, whatever she did to change into that vixen, also gave her that mindset of everything I do is part of my brand and it's work. And with her public relationships and all of the scandals and everything that's happened, instead of fighting it, she's kind of been like, guys, I'm not going to hide anything. Here's access. Look at everything I'm doing and let's talk about it. I think that's what she's done, which is probably the easiest strategy to do. And I'm not saying she's not great at marketing. She is. She's very good at marketing. But what I'm saying is a lot of people tend to want to fight that and be defensive, and she's like, no, I'm not fighting it. You guys are my community, come into my life, see what it is, right? I've got nothing to hide. And I think because she does that, people don't pry so much into her life because she decides when you see this and when you see that, but you're going to see all of it. But I think DJ Zinhle's USP when it comes to especially social media is that she not only shows us her life, but she also taps into the lives of the people who follow her. So if you look at her TikTok, she's always at different creators' events or like going to their graduations. She's really invested in her community. It's not just lip service. So people will give her free amplification. They talk about her when she's not in the room. They really love her because she's genuinely put time and effort into investing in that relationship with each creator. Even her comments, she will comment on as many posts as possible.
She responds.
Like she's really putting the work in. She's not saying, I'm famous, therefore I'm better than you. She's saying, I'm famous, but it's because of you. And people can see that. And that's why she's doing so well.
Okay. And I absolutely love that about her because no, she's on the money. I'm a huge fan of that hardworking woman and just everything that she does. When we look at just you and your career, I mean, you mentioned tech, which is something I'm also secretly passionate about. And I say secretly because I think it's one investment we are failing in our country in terms of how brilliant people are. And what I mean by failing in our country is just solutions to so many things, healthcare, agriculture, and. You want to go back to tech, and what would that mean for your career? Would you see that as a pivot, or would you see it as something that you are just expanding into?
I'd see it as an expansion because the Lebo Lion brand isn't a marketing brand. It's a brand that's rooted in innovation and audacity.
Ow!
So anything that I do...
Baby man, yo, I want to write, I'm going to get this woman to rewrite my bio, rooted in audacity. Yo,
It is.
I love it.
Anyone who follows me because of the innovation part. So I say to people, try, experiment, be creative, fail, it doesn't matter. But something comes out of that. And then the audacity is to live a life that's on your terms and not other people's terms. So that means doing the unpopular thing, doing the cringe thing, whatever it may mean to you, whatever audacity is, do that. And in anything I do, that's how I do things. Right? So I don't think it would be a pivot. I think it's just an evolution. It's an addition to the Lebo Lion brand. You know, it's not me, it's the brand.
Yes.
And so within that brand, technology is definitely a pillar. That's why I speak so much about social media. It's because I wanted to start the conversation about tech in a way that's relatable. So in everything I do, I pick the most relatable thing to start the conversation and anchor people's mindsets before I elevate it. That's why on my TikTok, I talk about celebrities because I understand that people won't get it if I just speak from a brand level or a strategy level. So I take it down to, let's talk about celebrities and then I'll show you strategy, then I'll show you brand level. So it's the same with the technology thing. And I believe in education, not necessarily formal education, I have my issues with that, but I believe that in everything that we encounter and experience, there should be an education element to it. So in whatever I build, there will still be an education element to it, but there's also a social element that I think Africa has that other countries just don't have, that potent community thing, right? And we're not capitalizing enough on it. And when we try to, we're exploiting the people in their community instead of empowering them. So I would love to do things that empower, but also entertain, but also foster community.
How do you honor your Congolese heritage, if at all? Have you even been there?
No.
That is so
I haven't been there,
fascinating.
but my sister's dated Congolese guys, which is so random, but she has, and she's been there. I think, so I grew up in a family that said to me and my siblings that being an African person is a privilege. So whenever you go out into the world, you need to hold your head up high and know that like you matter because you're African, right? Like, the darker, the better. The kinkier your hair, the better. That's the kind of household I was raised in. Makeup was not a thing. You know, all of those kinds of things. I've only evolved into that now in my 30s. So I think just generally, I find that wherever I go in the world, people don't think I'm South African.
What do they think you are?
They think I'm African.
So just
So
African.
they're like, are you Congolese? Are you Ghanaian? Are you Nigerian? Are you from America? Like people they can never locate me. And I think that speaks to the fact that I embody just everything that I am. And it's very interesting because I always say to my team, I mean, when I speak in different countries, they'll say to me, you don't sound South African. And I say, why? They're like, no, you speak well and you set the bar quite high. And I'm like, but that is a South African thing. Why do you guys think it's not a South African thing to be excellent, you know?
Yes.
So it's so interesting, but I'm exploring ways in which I can express my Africanness in everything that I do, but in a way that is true to me. You know, I don't want to dishonor myself. I feel pressure in South Africa to perform blackness, and I don't want to kowtow to that. So people will say, she's not black enough because she doesn't want to speak Vernac, or, you know, she calls herself Lebo Lion. What's her real African name? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, guys, you can't tell me who I am. I know who I am, right? Respect me, I respect you. Let's just get to know each other and allow ourselves to be a diverse community. So I find that even though we're diverse in South Africa, we don't embrace diversity as much as we should, but we're exposed to it. And in other African countries, it's the opposite. They don't have as much diversity as we do here, but they embrace all kinds of diversity. So I'm figuring it out. I haven't gotten it yet, but I'm figuring it out.
And it is in any ways just part of the natural process and journey.
Yes.
I think for me, the easiest thing would be to ask you, what advice do you have? Marketing, relating, and branding, but that's not going to be my question. I would like you to advise everybody watching, particularly young people, on how best to show up in the world. And I mean that from the perspective of for themselves,
Yes.
for jobs, you know, we're dealing with an unemployment crisis, for dynamics at home. Just what's your advice on how to best show up in the world?
This is a big question.
And very loaded.
Very loaded, big
Yes.
question, and there's so many ways to go about it.
And I'm being very intentional about what I'm asking, because I do feel like a lot of people miss out on life, on opportunities, all because they didn't show up the way they needed to in specific moments.
What irritates me about advice is that I feel like we give it to people without understanding where they are from a mindset perspective. The root of education and progress is in first harnessing people's mindsets and helping them explore how they think and how they see the world so that it empowers them. So first, work on your mindset. Invest in the things that strengthen your mind and expose you to the world, so that when you are engaging with things, you have a rich way of, and a nuanced way of creating, of connecting, of doing certain things, right? People always say to me, people think I'm really old. Like they think I'm like 40 something. And literally since my 20s, since I started Lebo Lion at 26 or 25, whatever age I was, people thought I was older just because I could communicate and I knew so much about random things. And I said, no, I've just been curious my whole life. They think it's because I went to private schools. No, there's still people who went to private schools who don't know much, right? Because it's a personal decision to invest in yourself and your mindset. I read books. I will take myself out to places I've never been to when I have money to go. I'm always investing in my mindset and my arsenal of experiences. So I have things to talk about when I'm with people and I've got value to share. So work on your mindset through reading, listening to podcasts, spending money on experiences, anything that broadens your perspective and that challenges you to think differently, invest in that first. You cannot add value to the world if you don't have a POV. And you cannot have a POV if you're not confident about how you see the world. And you cannot be confident unless you know things that help you form an opinion.
I got you.
So you have to invest in your mindset. First, invest in your mindset. And then I'd say, invest in your character. Put yourself in spaces that you're not used to and see how you behave. Because a lot of us have this idea of ourselves.
As in just get out of your comfort zone.
Get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
If I've worked in different companies, I have had different experiences with different kinds of leaders, etc. And I got to learn myself. I got to learn how, if I'm patient, if I'm this, if I'm that, am I really who I think I am? Invest in your character, put yourself in hard situations so that you know how to navigate through them when you finally encounter them in whatever you're building, but also so that you have more compassion and a nuanced understanding of human beings. People always ask me, why don't you get offended when people are mean to you online? I'm like, because I understand people. Like, this is the game. This is how we all interact with one another. I cannot take it personally. This is part of it, and we should be grateful that this is how it works, right? Feedback to me is a rich thing. Like, if you've got feedback, you've got the tools to build anything meaningful, whether it's good feedback or bad. That's data. That data is gold, right? So, but that's a mindset I developed over time from building, from learning myself, from, improving my mindset and all of that. And then I'd also say, I know when you look at social media, it gives us this idea that being like everyone else is how you win. And it's not always a direct message that's communicated in. So it's in things like the fact that if you do a challenge that everyone else is doing, you get as many views as they do, or you become viral as well. So what it's saying to us is that if I do what other people are doing, and I'm always part of what everyone is doing, I will be like them, and that's the right thing to do because I will be viral. I will get followers. I will be seen. But actually, the trick is in real life, being different is how you win. Not going with the crowd is how you actually win. So don't use social media as your marker of how life is done. Just use it as a marker of how people interact with one another. Those are two different things, right? Just use it as that. But if you really want to be known, or you want to build a really great business or a really great brand, the key is to be so uniquely different, so uniquely you, that people cannot confuse you with something else, which means you have to reject the crowd.
Yes.
Like a conductor, turn your back to the audience and focus on what you have to do. Whereas so social media says, be about people's validation, be about being like everyone else. And that's the trick, is that you shouldn't. The more different you are, the higher your likelihood of success.
Oh, so many nuggets. I wish I could keep her longer for all of you, but I cannot. Lebo Lion, thank you so much just for making the time, for continuing to impart your knowledge, for being honest, for telling us your name and her surname, Gitau. That's what she didn't say, Lebo. Woo! Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, comment down below with your questions, and I'll make sure that she answers them. But also let us know who else you'd like to see on this podcast. Don't forget to follow us on the socials at Relebogile Pod. Until next time.